In early May of 1864, Ulysses S. Grant is going to encounter Robert E. Lee's men at the Battle of the Wilderness. This here is a map of the Overland Campaign 1864 and 1865, so I will use this map as a guide to show us where we need to go. And as I said in the last video, the Army of the Potomac had a tremendous advantage. They had somewhere between 118 and 120,000 men. Compare that to Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia, which had about 60,000. But the major challenge and the major problem is the fact that the terrain. I want you to visualize real quick my classroom. I know it's been a minute since we've been there, but if we look out the back window and we look out towards the back football field, towards Island Lake, remember we got all those trees behind us? That is what the terrain is going to look like at the Wilderness, except those trees are going to go from my classroom all the way through to Island Lake. So, despite the fact that Grant has this huge advantage in numbers, he is going to be extremely limited because he can't really move 120,000 men in nice, clear formations. They're going to kind of they're going to have to bob and weave between branches, between trees, all these different things. And what happens? His generals go into the Wilderness and they get turned around. They're not sure which way to go. They're not sure what, sometimes we have friendly fire taking place. Sometimes these guys are going in different ways. So after the first day of fighting, the Union Army, different general, same result. I got my nose punched in. They suffer a serious setback. To make matters worse, when you go out for a walk or you go out and do something right now, the Battle of the Wilderness is going to take place right in the first week in May, so right around this time. Go walk out in the woods, go walk out in some tree lines. What are you going to see? Leaves on the ground. Leaves from the fall that have been there basically since all winter. Well, during the first night of fighting, the Battle of the Wilderness is going to become one of the most horrific events. And what we're going to see over the next few battles, there's going to be these key moments, these key horrific figures that are going to really give us some nasty, to see the nasty hand of war. And in the Battle of the Wilderness, we're going to have these fires take place. These leaves are going to catch fire. And men are going to be wounded, shot in the leg, shot in the stomach, unable to move. And these fires are going to approach, and they're going to sweep over these men. And men from both sides, the Union and the Confederacy, are not going to be able to do anything but watch their comrades be eaten up by the fire. There's this great book I read that talked about when the Union Army came through the Battle of the Wilderness after the battle. They saw these burned, charred areas and they thought it was logs. But it ended up being bodies, and the smell was just grotesque. So the men see a new horror at the Battle of the Wilderness. They see these fires consuming men. It's one thing to die on the battlefield, to get shot in the stomach or shot in the head, and you die. It's an entirely new thing to be consumed by fire. Regardless of the fact that after a couple of days of fighting, Robert E. Lee pulls out. And many of the men in the Union Army thought they were going to be pulling out too, that they were going to be headed back to Washington, D.C., and Ulysses S. Grant was going to get his way back to the West because he has failed again. But Grant proves to be different. Rather than retreat, Grant says, "Move forward, men. We're going after Lee." It's that last little bit of confidence, that stubborn willingness to deal with what Abraham Lincoln called the arithmetic. You see, Grant's going to understand, I have a numerical advantage against Robert E. Lee. I'm going to get my nose punched in. I'm going to lose men. But guess what? I have the ability to replace them. He does not. And the men get a burst of confidence. They get excited because now they have a general who is going to be there, who is going to support them. This is what is going to differentiate Ulysses S. Grant. He's going to say after a fight, which, it's a neutral or probably a loss, you know what? Guess what? We're going to keep fighting. And we're going to find out what happens at the Battle of Spotsylvania here in just a minute.